I cannot believe it's already been 2 weeks almost since my last video. I've already forgotten how to YouTube. But today I'm coming back for hopefully just a quick video before I have to clock in at work about the Ace of Swords, insight, mental clarity, and the role, like the central role that that's been playing recently. I've been reading a lot of sacred texts, especially like the Bible and like the Torah, and I've been reading the Quran and some of the old Buddhist scriptures and stuff, and I've been having a lot of insight from those and like trying to figure out my relationship to, if I receive insight from something, is that truth? And that is the gist of it. Of course, you know me, I took a bunch of notes, so let's see how far I can get before I just cut it short. I want to talk about those aha moments and their implications. So, you know, when you're like reading something for the first time, or you hear really inspirational like spiritual talk, or you're reading a text and you have an aha moment, like, oh my god, that makes sense. And you assume, because you assume, well, this is me probably projecting, but when those aha moments I feel like I mistake moments of understanding someone's point of view for truth. So I feel the need to integrate aha moments into my spirituality when that's not necessarily what might be best or what I need, or it might not actually be in alignment with my truth. I might just really understand the concept. And I know that's kind of confusing, and let me know in the comments below if that makes any sense. Like, aha moments do not equal truth. And I've been wrestling that, especially with the Bible, because I've been reading it really intensely, and I've really been deep diving into like the underlying spiritual framework of it and what it means. And when I started having some aha moments while reading that text, I started to like spiral. I was like, oh my god, is Christianity true? And I don't necessarily believe that, but I don't not believe it. So it got me thinking, like, okay, what is the nature of insight and how does this work? And so I brought my trusty tarot cards and my oracle cards, and I thought we would deep dive. Okay, let's see what's next on my notes. I want the moments of insight and inspiration to do all the work. I have this belief that once I have the insight, I'll be done. So those aha moments, I kind of expect those aha moments to do all the work. Like, okay, now I understand it and now I'm done. But the reality is like when you have an insight and then you have an aha moment, or like I get something, I've got to download, it doesn't immediately become incorporated into your practice. It doesn't immediately become incorporated into your core. You have to start working with it and, you know, like testing it out. Is this true, or was this true for a moment? And I'm not always willing to do that work. So I thought that was interesting. When I have insight, but I don't bother to take it any further. So does that mean I really didn't incorporate it as truth, or I just thought that was interesting? Any thoughts? Always feel free to comment below. My practice is insight and inspiration driven. For example, analyzing texts and feeling out the truth. When I say my practice, like my spiritual practice is insight driven, if I'm reading something and I don't immediately get the click or the download, or feel like the sword of knowledge is like splitting open reality and I'm like stepping through the portal, like looking at like the truth of the heavens, I'm not interested. I think in some ways that's a good thing for me, because I'm so interested in so many spiritualities and religions and texts and mythologies and folklores and just fiction, and incorporating that for me to know what I want is important, because there is so much that I know that I like. So when I analyze a text, if I'm not getting insight from it, then I don't feel like I'm if I don't feel like I'm getting something immediately from something, I immediately write it off. I know that can't be good, But when I was thinking about it, I feel like I'm kind of in the right place right now where I am looking for immediate like hits of inspiration and insight, and I'm trying to find like, so you know how like we're all on a path, right? I feel like I'm still like in the clearing looking for where to start like a path for myself about what I really want to uncover. The idea that the right insight will shift me from novice to master. I do have this built-in brain concept that if I just get the right insight, if I just have the right thought, if I just read the right sentence in the right book, all of the pieces will fall together and suddenly I'll be the master. And I have like this archetype built into my mind that I've always wanted to be, of this idea of I'm I'm a guru. I'm a master. Not that I'm interested in like teaching other people. I mean, I know I have this YouTube channel, but it's really not for teaching. It's to expose myself. But I want to be wise, and I know I've mentioned this in other videos, and I have this archetype in my mind, and it's what I want at my core. So right now, that's what I'm chasing, and I feel like the chase of that will lead me to where I need to be. How can I improve my relationship with insight? Okay, so this is where I was gonna pull out the cards. We'll use tarot first. So we just talked about insight and the emphasis I put on it. So let's see what advice the cards have for me about rebuilding my relationship with insight, rebuilding my relationship with understanding, rebuilding my relationship with like clarity of knowledge about what I'm believing. What can I remember when I feel like I'm on the cusp, but insight hasn't broken through yet? How can I allow myself to just trust the unknowing, trust the The 10 of Wands. That's interesting. My relationship with insight, for me, I was seeing these as me, as all the texts that I'm reading and all the expectations I have. And honestly, these could be all the different insights I have about different things, and they're all filtering down into this understanding and then exploding into my subconscious. I know that wouldn't be like a traditional interpretation, but that's kind of what I see off the top of my head. I need to trust that even if the information feels like it's vanishing, it really is exploding into my subconscious, but also I don't need to put this much pressure on myself, which makes it's so confusing, because when it comes to spirituality and religion, nobody's putting any pressure on me. I'm putting it on myself. And why do I do that? I don't even want to be doing that, but I am. Virgo, maybe? I don't know what that is. But in regards to like rewiring my relationship to insight, I know like traditionally like this is the card of like this is too much. You can only go so far with this. This bundle, he can carry it probably indefinitely, but it won't be forever. Maybe that's the same with insight. Insight will only get me so far. Just like those bang moments. Maybe they'll start becoming fewer and further between, and I really need to build my own insights and build my own understandings. Love that for me. Let's see. Insights of the heart versus the head, expanding my heart space. Okay, so the Ace of Swords, of course, is air, so you know, our mind. And the downloads that come from those kinds of like airy understandings go into our brain, a brain box. And I don't always allow those insights to enter like my heart space. So I was thinking about when I do have moments of like inspiration and insight from a text or a reading or something like that, to really allow it to filter into my heart and allow myself to feel it and not just understand the truth, but feel the truth and feel it in my body, which I feel was one of my last videos was about my relationship with understanding in the body. Now that I've been working on that, really trying to feel truth in my body, or like this concept that I'm thinking of trying to like place truths into my body. If it's resisting, like if it's resisting everything, then something has to be done. So I'm just gonna gently lay things I feel to be true onto my heart and see if they are like absorbed, if that makes any sense. I found this quote that was in this talk between some Tibetan exile leaders, and they were talking about insight, and they were talking about meditation and exile and things they know to be true in their minds, but also versus their heart. So his name is Damcho, Damcho. I couldn't find his first name because it literally just has his name and then two dots and then the quote, because it was like a talk, but it never said his name. But he says, "The center of our being, our subtle mind, abides in the heart. Heart is the same as mind to a Buddhist." Heart is the same as mind. So thinking of it from that perspective, it just gave me a lot of thoughts and feelings about how when I have insight, instead of holding on to it or like packing it away, allowing it to like flow through me and like mentally making sure that that's the case. Taking truth and feeling it, like feeling it reverberate and through my body and interacting with that truth. And I just thought that was a good quote. I over intellectualize spiritual experience. Does that even need any commenting? How can I release the trappings of past knowledge, knowings, insights, and understandings? So this one has been like really confusing. What about when a new insight contradicts an old insight into your spiritual life, life in general, some sort of metaphysical concept? What do you do when your truths start to overlap? And I know a lot of us hold paradoxical views, like simultaneously. But what about when paradigms essentially shift? And what if you start to believe something that is fundamentally not in alignment with something you kind of also still believe? It's disconcerting, and I'm gonna pull an oracle card for this, because I've been having a lot of conflicting messages coming through about like the nature of my relationship with God, divinity, goddesses, spirits, tarot, oracle, and how I think it works, and how can I just kind of realign myself? What can I remember when I'm going through it and I'm really confused and I'm just craving that next truth instead of just sitting with what I do have now? I don't even know exactly what this question means, but I'm hoping that something will come through. How do I look? Okay, no, concentrate. Sharing of yourself. I am an incredibly generous being. Interesting. Sharing of yourself. I share myself with the truths and the texts and the ideas that I interact with. I truly give myself to. And the communities that I run around in and the people that I talk to, I share my ideas, often unsolicited. I share so much here, and I share a lot, but maybe I'm not sharing so much with like up there or like everywhere, or the realm beyond this one, or like maybe I'm holding on too tightly to like, oh my god, what's the truth? Who am I? Where am I? What is this? And maybe I can really share myself with my surroundings. Maybe that has to do with also the relationship with like the body and unlocking the body and sharing myself with experience, sharing myself, allowing myself to still feel those old truths and sit with those instead of feeling like I have to pull myself from place to place to place and just be, sit, release, share myself with everything that's going on. Okay. Almost done, hopefully. I'm hesitant and guarded with insight. Truth makes me uncomfortable because I have an ideal vision of the world. Now, this is something I've also been struggling with while reading sacred texts like the Torah or the Bible or the Quran and stuff like that. I am critical of those texts because I have an ideal vision of what a God would be. Okay, to me, the ideal version that I wish that God was just this pantheistic idea of everything is God, we're God, experiencing himself. This is all consciousness. We can tap into that consciousness and feel infinite love, man. And that's like my ideal. Ideally, I'm manifesting this existence along with other people, and we're all in it together, and it's just like this beautiful, like, go lucky existence. But what if that wasn't true? What if God is different than that? What if there's only one? What if he is separate from me, or she? What if what if they are separate from me, and that realm and this realm are actually not the same? Maybe, like, what if I am critical of anything that is outside of my ideal vision, and I haven't worked through yet what the implications of that are. Now, this next one was like, if I call understanding, truth, love, and compassion to myself, I have to confront myself. I like to be one step ahead of the truth so I can observe it and lock it away. Now, I know that was a lot to probably take in, but the idea of being one step ahead of the truth, when I do have insights and like those moments of like, oh my god, I think I'm onto something, I will take it and shove it away and analyze it later when it's more, convenient for me. I don't allow my life to be rocked necessarily by new understandings or experiences, and that's because I want to be in control of them. And maybe that's what sharing myself means, sharing myself with the experience, like actually giving myself to the experience. And I've heard people say that concept, give yourself to the experience, and I thought I knew what it meant, but I don't think that I did. You actually have to give yourself over to experiences. And giving up control is difficult for me. I say that I like to be in control of like my emotions and my body, but I also like to be out of control, if that makes sense. I like to lose control. So it's not necessarily right to say that I'm just over controlling everything. I just think that I have this vision in my mind that I'm not ready to give up, and I'm locking onto truths and like compartmentalizing them, and I need to get real with what am I searching for? What insights am I hoping for? I need to get real with what I'm doing this all for, and I need to get real if I just don't even know why. And that could also be okay, but at least be honest with myself about, am I here for truth and experience, or am I here for some other reason? And lastly, the Dalai Lama wrote this, and I thought it was kind of relevant. The purpose of life is to serve other people. from that point of view, a difficulty is really a great opportunity. It's a great honor, a great privilege, you see, to face these times, to confront them. And I was thinking about that, and I really am happy to share what I'm going through with other people, because I've had people message me on Instagram before and saying like, wow, I really kind of like relate to the path that you're on, because you don't know where you're at. You're literally just reading a bunch of things, squishing them all together. What's true? What's not true? Can I squish? Can I not squish? Like, what do I believe? There's so much, and just having no idea where I'm at, and just like learning to be okay with that, and sharing that experience. Like, I guess that goes back to that card of sharing myself with others. Like, I enjoy this, and I'm happy to be some sort of beacon for like myself also. I'm happy to go through this because it's the process is what's exciting to me. And I really do I have time for the last thing I wanted to talk about? I think I do. Okay, where is it? I will find it. Will I find it? Oh my god, give me guys just 1 second. Almost there. So, I'm sure you guys all remember the story of Jonah from the Old Testament, about the man that got sucked into the whale. Oh my god, why did I even say it like that? Or, the guy that lived in the belly of the fish, as the text says. It doesn't necessarily say whale, but lived in the belly of a fish for 3 days. And actually, I had never actually read the story, and it was really interesting. So here is just a small snippet. The word of the Lord came to Jonah. Go to the great city and preach against it, because its wickedness has come up before me. But Jonah ran away from the Lord and headed to Tarshish, Tarshish, a city like on the other side of the Mediterranean. He went down to Joppa, where he found a ship bound for that port, and after paying the fare, he went aboard and sailed away from God, right? So I was thinking about that, and I was kind of like laughing. Imagine like God, like the God of Israel, appears before you, and it's like, Skylar, go preach against the city. I can see myself being like, no, I'm actually buying a one-way ticket out of here. Like, I'm not doing that. So he gets on this ship with these pagan sailors, which is like relatable. Hello, pagan sailor, like my ideal boat. And God creates a big storm, and the pagan sailors find out that Jonah is the reason for it, and they try and save his life, but eventually they throw him overboard, because they're like, dude, we're not dying because of you. So they throw him overboard, and a whale comes and eats Jonah. And Jonah has like this coming to God moment. He's like, oh my God, I need to see your kingdom again. I will be your servant, like pleading like for like the truth and the revelations, and I'll be good. And so the whale washes up onto a beach and throws him up. And so he comes out and he goes to the city to that he was sent to tell them to like repent, basically. And so he goes to the city, tells them to repent, and then this is the surprising part of Jonah. The city actually does repent. So God decides not to blow it up. Such a nice guy, right? He decides not to destroy it. And when Jonah finds out that God was not going to destroy the city, he was really pissed and angry and asked God to just kill him, because he was so embarrassed and mortified. And I just thought that story was really interesting, because like, okay, we get this insight So like I paralleled it kind of to me, which is not a very good parallel, but I just thought it was interesting. I get the insight, I run away from it, and then once I run away from it, I'm like, man, I really wish I had some insight. And then it comes again, and then like this concept of please give me what I want. You kind of get it, but then you toss it aside, and it's stuff like that, like stories like that from the Old Testament or the New Testament or the Quran or the Buddhist texts that I read that and I get a lot of inspiration and insight and understanding, and I think, is this what is truth? Is this true? And not necessarily true literally, but also true literally. Just like, when you're so just like, and I don't even need to know the truth necessarily, but I am just obsessed with knowing it. So, I hope this video was at all helpful or interesting, like I always say, and I will see you guys next time, and have a really, really, really good October. Thank you.